Hello and welcome back. It appears that my download has finished. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so you can see the prompt that's on the screen. And what I've got is that ABD restart prompt. And I'm going to say yes to this. This is the background process that runs the Android SDK environment. So go ahead and say yes to that, and what ends up happening is that the ADB will restart. And as you can see on the bottom of the screen here, well, it was done a few minutes ago. Now the log manager is going to come back up, and the ABD daemon wasn't running, but it's now started. So it started successfully, and we've got 38 packages installed. So I'm going to go ahead and close this window. And I'm going to make a little note here. Actually, I'm just going to observe the screen and see that the status of all of the items that I have selected to install, none of them appear to have failed. I've got some that are not installed. It looks like perhaps some items that may not be supported. Android, I'm not quite sure what these guys are here, but I'm not going to worry about it. Maybe I didn't select it. I don't know. Probably was not originally selected. Who knows? Dual screen stuff, I'm not going to worry about that either. The Galaxy tab, I'm not going to worry about that stuff. But it looks like most of the stuff that I installed, most of the stuff that I selected was installed. Something here was not compatible with Linux. Okay, that's good. It appears that I've got an install 5 prompt here for these guys that weren't installed. Perhaps I'm going to click on this actually and install these 5 items. Perhaps they needed to be installed after the other ones were installed. So this is going to go ahead and download and install those 5 items that were selected. And let's see how this works. This really shouldn't take that much time. I'm not even quite sure I even needed those items, but I believe I'm going to go ahead and pause the video though, because I'm not quite sure how much time this is going to take, and I don't want to bore you in the process. So let me pause the video, and then we'll see what happens after that. Okay, I'm back, and with a lot of success. What we're looking at again is another ABD restart screen, letting us know that the download has finished and it wants to restart the ABD. So let's go ahead and click on yes. So I'm going to click on yes here, and I thought I clicked on that already. And we should be restarting any minute now. There we go. Here comes the restart. Done loading packages. That's fabulous. So I'm going to say OK. So now if I come over here, let's see what else. Well, it looks like 5 more need to be installed. What are they? Dual screen. I'm probably never going to use it. Real 3D. Probably never going to use it. Some other stuff here, and I'm probably never going to use it. The Galaxy tab. Well, there's 5 more items in the list that have not been installed yet, according to my my little thing here. So I'm going to click on this install 5 more again, and let's see what happens here. I'm going to accept all, install. Maybe this won't take as long. It appears that there's a particular order that these items need to be installed in. Well, I'm going to pause the video again because it appears that this is going to take a few more minutes, and I don't want to bore you with it. I'm hopefully going to get to the point where everything's installed, and I'm not going to, hopefully at the end of this install, everything will be installed. There's only 5 items left, it looks like, so everything else looks like it got installed except for the Google USB driver, which is not compatible with Linux. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video one more time, and then I'll come back when those remaining 5 have been installed. So here we go. Okay, let's start this again, or try this, or continue, I should say. Now I'm back at this ABD, so I'm going to restart it. So I will click yes to start the ABD again, and let's see what comes up this time. So we're restarting. We're going to close those same 5 packages again. This time I'm not going to, probably different 5 packages this time. Let's see. No, it looks like the same looks like they're failing for some reason. I'm not going to bother with it. At this point, I think that everything, I believe that everything should be installed and updated correctly at this point. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to close this screen. Actually, I'm just going to click on the red button here to close it. Everything should be installed correctly. And then, what is this? On the bottom on the console screen, it looks like I've got some output of some nature. Could be the ADB error of some sort. Well, I'm not going to worry about that either. I'm going to close this window and close these guys back here as well. I don't need all these windows open. And let's see. There we go. My mouse is acting kind of weird. Okay, there we go. All right, so the next step I'm going to do is going to create some AVDs, some Android virtual devices. So if I go into the window, and why they put it in the window menu, I'm really not quite sure. But if I go into the AVD manager, oops, SDK manager, my mouse is not doing me justice. If I click on the AVD manager, which is the one I wanted, I will see I have created one already. I'm going to delete this and recreate it so you can see what I'm doing here. Your screen is going to look like this, and this is the Android virtual device. And so you're going to need to click on New. You have to create a virtual device to run each one of your projects in, and I'm going to label the AVD according to the API level that I'm going to work with. So I'm going to create one for 4. So I'm going to go AVD. I'm going to call it 4. And on the target here, it's going to be for one of the target platforms. And so I installed a bunch of stuff here, and I'm going to say what I'm going to be looking for, because it looks like it's in descending order. So I'm going to have to go to the bottom here to say I want Android 4 API level 14, which is the most current Android API. Which is 4.0. It just released in October 2011. This is December 2011. Can't get any newer than that. So I'm going to select that, and then I'm just going to say Create AVD. I'm going to leave all the options on a default. There are some options that you might select. In fact, let me create another one so you can kind of go through some of the options as well. I'm going to call this AVD3, and I'm going to pick something from the level 3. Whoops, I'm not going to pick that one. Looks like my mouse is picking for me. Let's see. I'm going to scroll down here. I'm going to pick 3.0. Yeah, I'm going to say just 3 because I labeled it 3. I'm going to go to 3.0 API level 11. Looks like the lowest version of the API for level 3. And the snapshot is an option you might select that might make the emulator run faster. It saves the state of the emulator, makes it persistent, so it doesn't have to keep reloading and loading every time you load it. I'm not going to select to enable it though, because I have found in the past there's been certain problems with it loading. So I'm going to leave it alone. If you want to see one of these run, you click on it and you can say Start. Click on Start, and it's going to say, I'm just going to launch it with the default settings. I'm not going to scale it. So it starts the emulator, and in a few minutes a black window is going to show up on the screen, and it's going to look like an emulator. Here it is. It's going to look like I was going to say iPhone. It's going to look like a Google phone, an Android phone eventually. So it says Android right here. It's going to change significantly in the next few minutes. And this is one of those things that people complain about with the Android API, is that the emulators always run a bit slow. And I'm running this in a virtual environment. Well, Android is a virtual environment, and I'm running it in a virtual environment, which is why I probably should select the snapshot option. That way it doesn't have to load from scratch. It'll just save the state of the last time I loaded it. And it loads a lot faster that way, from what I hear. I've just had some problems with it when I've run it. So I'm going to be patient and kind of let this one run a little bit. In fact, while it's sitting here, we can just leave it alone, and I can click back to the Eclipse window and continue showing you some stuff about Eclipse. So I'm going to minimize this one here, actually, and I'm going to close this device window, and instead I'm just going to create a new Android project and see how this works. And so I'm going to go File, New, and if I can get my mouse to work correctly, New. In fact, I'll just and I'm going to go Project instead of Java Project because I want to use a different type. It's going to be a Java project, but as you see in a few minutes, I'm going to get more options here. And here are the options that I get. I have a Java project with existing Ant build file, plugins. Now I really want, and this might be minimized. It might look like that, and you might have to click on the arrow to open it up to expand out the different options that are available to you. And I'm trying to get my mouse over there. My mouse is acting kind of funny. Alright, so I'm going to pick the Android project, and then I'm going to click on Next. And then I'm going to have to pick a project name, and I'm going to call this sample Android, just to show you what it's all about. And I'm going to use the default location for everything. Instead, I'm just going to come down here and click on Next. And then basically, I have to pick which Android project type do I want to create. And I believe I want to use 4. And I believe 4 should be selected by default, and it is. So Android Open Project Source 4. And we created a 4.0 emulator, so I'm going to have something to run it in, which is good. But these are all of the other options, and basically it's your target platform. So I'm looking at using the most current 4.0, and it's going to be for an Android open source project. So I'm going to say OK. And then now I have to fill in a package name. If you're not familiar with Java, the package is the location for where the files are going to be stored. I'm just going to say sample.android is my package. This is by convenience. Let's just start with a lower level. Alright, so low characters, we'll do that. Actually, I'll do that as well. And I'm going to click on Finished. And now what it's going to do is going to put in my Workspace Directory, and you'll find the Workspace Directory under your Home Directory. Or in your development directory, depending upon where Eclipse puts things. But this will be created as a folder on your system, and you'll be able to see the files out there in DOS. And what you're going to see is kind of organized. I shouldn't say DOS, out in your Linux environment. And it's going to be organized just the way it is organized here. You'll have one folder that's going to be called SRS for source, and in here we have a package, and the package is sample Android. And in here we should have a basic Hello World program, and we do. It's right here. If I double click on this file, it should open up right here in the right hand side of the window. And this is going to be, if I can expand this window in a few minutes. There it is. Let's open this up a little bit. This one's a .java file. It's the source code file for a sample Android activity. And the sample Android activity is going to do nothing but put Hello World on the screen, and we see that we are importing from Android app activity, and because we're extending activity, which means we're building on the functionality of the activity abstract implementation. We're also going to import Android OS bundle, but these imports are given for you automatically if you take this approach and create a project type that is an Android type. And I want to see how my emulator is working, so I'm going to minimize this window, and let's close that window and kind of see if I can find the emulator. Actually, you know what? I can find the emulator right here. Here's the emulator, and it still appears to be loading, which is not a good sign. It should run a little bit faster, I believe, but I'm going to kill this emulator, actually, because what I want to do is run that program, and that program's in 4.0, and that emulator's a 3.0 emulator. So I'm going to show you how to run the program. If you click on the program name and you right mouse click, you'll see some Run As options, and you go Run As, and it's going to be, in our particular case, we're going to want to run it as an Android application, which is going to be this one right here. The other choice you have in terms of running the project is to come up here and hit the Run menu, and then select Run or Run As, and then select Android Application. And so I just selected Android Application, so it should go out and find the AVD the virtual device, Android virtual device, which is what AVD stands for, that I created for the 4.0. And any messages that would occur, and here it goes, actually it's loading a little bit faster this time. Well, the 4.0, I guess, is, we got a lot more loaded. Any feedback that we're going to get is going to show up in this window down here. And this window should be giving us, oops, let's see if I can get this window bigger. Alright, my mouse is not going to, I believe my mouse is dying. That window's not going to help us. Instead, I'm going to click back onto the Android and just wait for the, actually it seems to be loading fairly quickly now. So it appears the 4.0, it's gotten to a lot more advanced state given the time that I've allowed it to run. The 3.0 didn't run very quickly at all, but this one appears to actually be running. I'm going to see what happens. And in the next few minutes, the Android thing right here will go away, and we'll see what looks like a phone, or it should look like an Android phone of some sort. And we'll be able to use the menu options over here as well as the keyboard to manipulate the phone. So as you can see, you can create projects in Android and see them in the emulator without actually owning a phone, which can kind of allow you to kind of make test in different target platforms and see how it's going to look, let's say on the Galaxy tab or on some of the different versions of the Android phone, and get a good feel for what that's about. I don't want to pause the video because I know this is going to load, and then I kind of want to see how long it's going to take realistically for it to load. It is a bit time consuming, as you can see, and this is pretty normal. In fact, I want to say this is actually faster than I've seen it run on my Windows machine, which is kind of a bummer. You would think that they would come up with an emulator that ran like Lickety Split or something, but it's installing a lot. That's why the snapshot might help you actually, but it's installing a lot, it's loading a lot, and the functionality is very sophisticated. Once it does come up, you'll be very impressed with it. So it's probably worth the wait. But once you load it, you can actually leave it loaded. You only have to load it once, and then you can still make some changes to your program and then reload it in the emulator. So, and if you think about it, the emulator is kind of booting a phone system completely. So let's see. I'm still waiting for the emulator to load. I'll give it a few minutes. I guess if you're watching this, you can fast forward a little bit and not have to listen to me. Or I guess I could pause the video. You know what I'll do is I'll pause the video for you so you don't waste your time, and then we'll come back to the when the phone loads, I'll resume the video so you can see it. But I'm going to pause the video right now so you don't have to wait. Alright, well just when I gave up, it actually loaded for me. So when it loads initially, we're presented with screen. The time appears to be a bit off. It says 12:04. Just make yourself at home. You can put your favorite apps here. Okay. To see all your apps, touch the circle. Well, I don't have a touch screen, so I'm going to press OK here and wake it up. So I have pressed OK, and now it looks like actually this looks like this looks pretty good. This is the 4.0. The buttons over here should work. If I press the home menu button, I should get a pop-up menu that appears. And here's the pop-up menu on the bottom here. If I click the back button here, it should go back. Home should take me home, which I believe it does. Let's see if the phone works here. If I click the dial, it's going to go into a dial mode. Now you can actually test with the emulator. You can text message and you can simulate telephone calls, emulator to emulator. Of course, you've got to load a couple of different emulators to get that to work correctly. So yeah, we have no call log. I'm going to go back here, actually press the back button here. Go back to the main menu. Well, what I want to see is this Hello World application that we created. So I'm going to click on this here. This, I want to say is probably going to open up my applications, I hope. Let's see, choose some application. I guess the first time you run it, I'm gonna see a bunch of options. Here's our sample. Whoops. I clicked the scroll button on my mouse, and I ended up messing it up. But here's our sample application, by the way. So I've clicked on the sample application, and it says sample Android. Hello World sample Android activity, which is what our Java code is doing in our sample application. So you can see how programs are going to be tested. So an icon will be created, the app actually gets installed, and if we go back to the status window over here and we take a look to see what happened, the slightest chance I can get this thing to come up a little bit. There we go, success. I can kind of see the status, and this is what I was trying to show you earlier, about what's happening with this Android window, Android emulator. So we get all the emulator messages. It says it found a couple of things. It found Google Apps. It found a bunch. It really is doing a lot of loading. If I get to the bottom here, let me see if I get way down to the bottom here. We'll see a part of the screen here. Oh, a new emulator found. Waiting for home. Installing sample APK. Failed to install sample APK on device. Emulator 5554. Interesting. You know, maybe it still thought that other device was loaded. I think it tried to do it on the wrong device. Yeah, device not found. Probably launch canceled. It probably because I had the other device loaded at the same time. Remember, I loaded up that 3.0 and then I loaded up the 4.0 because it obviously found it here in the 4.0 one because it's running it here. It's not going to exist if you don't create it. And one of the other interesting things to note, however, is the port. So up here we have 5554. That's the port that AVD4, which is the API 4 level Android emulator. That's the port that this one is running on. So we can open up another emulator at 5555, 5556. It's just randomly generated. The port numbers randomly generated for us. And then we can use this like there are multiple phones, and we can text message back and forth and call each one of the phones and answer it. And it's kind of interesting how the functionality works. You know, to say the least, it's very sophisticated. It does take a while to load. So I would make sure that the emulator loads for you, and that you can create a Hello World program like I just did. And I created another one earlier just to test it before I started the video, but you can create all sorts of different types of Hello Worlds if you want, with using different emulators. Test with the one you're going to use, and you're probably going to want to use 4.0. If you look at the rest of this, I'll just take a brief look. The next video is going to go through creating Hello World and creating a sample application. And basically, the good thing for you is it doesn't really matter what platform you're running this on. If you're running it on Linux, Mac, or Windows, all of the instructions are identical at this point. So it's just the installs that are different for the different platforms. But if we go through the file themselves, we see there's an XML file called Android manifest, which is going to set permissions and settings information. And it's all edited. Now that I want to make this window smaller, I'm wondering if I'm going to... Oh, there we go. Let's make this actually... Well, just close the console. It'll come back up automatically. There we go. Those windows will come up automatically for us the next time I run something that does have output. But the manifest, as you see, is kind of easy to work with. It's an XML-based program, or excuse me, file, and the file is going to hold information about the project that we're using. In the resource directory, we're going to see in the layout directory, we're going to see the layout, and the layout is also, here's the main XML. And I'm double-clicking on these items, and it's showing up over here in the right-hand side. And main is going to be our basic interface. It's still loading, as you can tell from my cursor. It's going to be our basic interface, which is going to be, the UI to the program. And you can see my system is a bit taxed. Oh, here we go. Here's the can't resolve string name. This is interesting. Let me get that back. Let's get rid of the console so I can see what's on the screen. There we go. String hello. Oh, that's probably because I didn't add it. But if I make this a little bit bigger, we can kind of see that this is what the application looks like when we run it. And it's a little bigger. Let's see. Let's see. We had a variable parameter set up for string app name, and we had string hello that we're using, and that's basically what this was, the application name. It said when we loaded it up in the emulator. In fact, I probably still have the emulator here. If we look at this program in the emulator, we can see how the GUI is actually put together. So we see sample Android, which is the name of the app, and then we see this string, and the string is defined within the XML file. Here it says it can't resolve the resource, but that's another story, probably because I didn't save the project yet. But we can see in terms of the way this is built, we can drag and drop items. As an example, I just dropped a text field on here, and the text field is going to put something in there. So it's very like Visual Basic like in terms of the interface, because it allows you to drag and drop items onto a canvas and change the canvas around to modify it to meet your needs. So I hope you were successful in your install and you've been able to load the emulator. And it's interesting that the emulator, I guess you can give a title to the window, but the emulator shows up as a separate item in the launcher, so it's kind of nice. I highly recommend playing around with the emulator, seeing with the different options. The snapshot option might be a good one to pick. See if it loads any faster. Speed is not a problem with your computer. It's the emulator in general. It's just characteristic of the workings of the emulator. So, what is this actually? Kind of curious, actually. I think this is an instant messaging program. Yeah. There we go. All right. Well, I hope you enjoy the video and you have it installed, and this is what you're supposed to get. If you don't get this, then go through the steps over again and update, maybe do an apt-get update on your repository, make sure everything's up to date. And in fact, this is now part of your system, so it'll automatically be updated when new releases come out. So stay tuned for the next video. The next video in the sequence is going to be creating Hello World and running it in your emulator. I'll probably do a little bit more than just the Hello World. I'll probably put some more things on the canvas to kind of get you started in terms of learning the components and learning what you need to do to create a Android application. So stay tuned for the next